We're now going to talk about simplifying fractions, and this is a very important skill, so let's go through it slowly. So simplifying fractions. So we can simplify fractions by dividing the numerator and denominator by the same number. This creates an equivalent fraction where both numbers are the smallest they can be. To do this, the numerator and denominator must be divided by their highest common factor. So we're going to talk about two ways of going about this. Both ways work. One way is just a lot quicker than the other. So method one is when you just divide straight by the highest common factor. So when you're looking here, I've got 4 and 8. So I want to divide my numerator and denominator by the highest common factor. So hopefully you're able to recognize that really quickly. What's the highest common factor of 4 and 8? Hopefully you can recognize that it's going to be 4. So therefore, what we're going to do, these 3 dots means therefore, we're going to divide the numerator and denominator by 4. So I'm going to go divide by 4, and that means what I'm going to end up with here is 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. My answer is going to be a half. But let's say you want to use method 2. Method 2 just says you can divide by any factor. So let's say that instead of dividing by the highest common factor, you instead just divided by 2. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm just dividing by 2. If I divide by 2, that means what I'm going to end up with here is 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now I've got 2 and 4. But do you see how this can be further simplified? Because I can divide by 2 again. So I'm going to divide by 2 again. Oh, let's try that again. 2 again. And that's going to leave me, once I've done it for a second time, with 1 on 2. And just like that, I've gotten my answer. So as you can see, you can either divide by the highest common factor to get a half, or, it takes a few extra steps, but if you divide by any factor, you will eventually get there. All right, let's now go to our second one here, and you might like to pause and see if you can do it both ways. So remember, the fast way to do it is say, well, what is the highest common factor of 16 and 24? Well, the highest common factor of 16 and 24 is 8. So I could divide both of these by 8. And if I divide both of those by 8, I'm going to immediately get my answer. 16 divided by 8 is 2, and 24 divided by 8 is 3, 2/3. If I come over here, and let's just say I can't figure out that the highest common factor is 8, but instead I say, all right, let's divide them both by 4, because 4 goes into both of these numbers. Well, if I divide both of these by 4, I'm going to get 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 24 divided by 4 is 6. But you see how you can still simplify this. I can divide them both by 2. Divide it by 2, divide it by 2. And then if I divide them both by 2, 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2, and 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3. So as you can see, you will eventually get to the correct answer, but by dividing by the highest common factor, you get there a lot faster. I also want to remind you that whatever you do to the numerator, you must also do to the denominator, okay? So as you can see, if I'm dividing by 4 to the top, I'm dividing by 4 to the bottom. If I'm dividing by 2 to the top, I'm dividing by 2 to the bottom. You must always do that. But those are the two ways you can go about simplifying fractions. That's what it's all about. That's how you approach these types of questions. Hopefully you found this helpful. I'll see you in the next part.